Just locked into your feel-good breakfast show. And of course, this August, we are celebrating exceptional females in our country, such as teenage sensation Caitlin Rooskrantz, who has experienced many firsts in her international and incredible gymnastics career. Now, the 18-year-old from Johannesburg was the first South African to win a gold medal at an international competition, as well as the first South African gymnast to qualify for the Olympic Games in over a decade. And now we're catching up with Caitlin ahead of Women's Day to see what she's up to. Caitlin, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I'm so keen to hear all about this inspirational movement that you've been going through now. You're a gymnastics champion, but please do take us back to where it all began. Was this what you always wanted to do, and how exactly did you even get started in gymnastics?
I definitely believe gymnastics was something that chose me. I started gymnastics at the age of 6 years old. My parents always told me I was a very busy kid. I could never sit still. I gave them absolute hell. Apparently, I was like a hazard to myself, because if I wasn't doing self-taught flips off my bed, I was trying to get into the pool. They were quite worried about me, but a few of their friends actually recommended the sport to them. Coming from a background that my parents did, they didn't really know what gymnastics was. So I got put into the sport at about 6 years old. And at that time, it was just a hobby, something to do after school, to channel my energy in a different direction. And that's where it started.
I think that is so incredible. From the age of 6 years old, you mentioned, which I feel is just something that is so passionate within you. And clearly it's what results in all these achievements that you've already had. Now, you're the first South African gymnast to actually qualify for the Olympics in over a decade. And now the Olympic Games is a massive achievement for an athlete. So how did the news of your qualification make you feel? I know I would just be absolutely ecstatic.
My Olympic Games qualification was my biggest achievement yet of my career in my 12 years in gymnastics. The Olympic Games was something that was, one of my long-term goals for, I believe, my whole gymnastics career. From a young age, you have this dream, even if it is a far-fetched dream, that's what I believe mine was at the time, to be at the Olympics one day. So I was the first gymnast last year to have achieved a straight-out qualification at the World Championships, which was a massive achievement for me, which was like a straight-out golden ticket, to go to the Olympics. And it was a really exciting moment for me, one of the biggest moments of my career. And yeah, I was so excited for 2020, really to take it on and work harder than ever to, have an amazing competition at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, now, coming from that incredible high, as you've just explained, and moving to the future now, and the current pandemic, obviously, sadly, has resulted in the Olympics having to be postponed to 2021 due to the reasons of COVID and the spread of the pandemic itself. But now, with so many countries on lockdown and so many changes, I can imagine training and working so hard for something so big. And I know as an athlete, the Olympics is literally the epitome of that. How much of a disappointment was this postponement for you? Or did you see it for more of an opportunity to prepare for 2021?
Olympics postponement did come as a huge disappointment to me. I had worked my whole life for 2020. I had rearranged everything this year to make that the center of my attention. I matriculated last year, so this year's plan was that I was going to take a gap year this year to fully focus on preparing for the Olympic Games and, inevitably doing well there. When we got the news that the Olympics now had been postponed, I was quite upset in the sense that not only was I not studying now, but I was also not training at the moment because we were in lockdown and my competition season was cancelled and the Olympics was postponed, so it just felt like this year was a very wasted and empty year. But I do like to look for the silver lining in everything, and I was really happy that the Olympics was postponed and not cancelled, because that would have been a tragedy, and that I also got to keep my qualifying spot. That was a big relief for me.
And on top of that, we get to chat to you before you head off to that big tournament and prepare for the inevitable games in 2021. Now, Caitlin, you're obviously an absolute inspiration. And I think to women, especially for this month, I think they would be so encouraged to hear some advice from you. So being the athlete that you are, obviously going through this pandemic right now, still trying to keep fit. And later on, you're obviously going to share an incredible workout with us. But before you even get into that, what advice would you have for any aspiring women that want to be gymnasts, that want to just be inspired or kind of just create something more out of their lives, just like you have?
Something that has always, I think, stuck with me was you need to keep your eye on the goal. There's going to be a lot of things that is going to be thrown in your way and disappointments and setbacks, but you always need to know what your goal is, and you just don't take your eye off what that is. And that's part of being a successful person is, yes, we work very strictly with plans and planning everything, but you also need to be flexible, with your plan.
An athlete with so much wisdom, yet you seem so young. It's an absolutely incredible opportunity to chat to you, Caitlin, and we wish you well for your preparations for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, and we can't wait to see just how fantastic I know you're going to do. But of course, guys, stay tuned for more on your Feel Good Breakfast shows. Caitlin will be back to take us through a short fitness routine. You don't want to go anywhere.